Welcome back, guys, to the summer promotion tournament here for the LCK. And MVP fought back, found himself a victory behind a heck of a lot of damage from Pilot. 30k in a game that I believe was actually a little bit shorter than game number one, potentially. Still about 10k more damage than the highest that we saw.
And my favorite thing was their mentality was clearly intact. That was definitely the veteran squad being able to shrug off a pretty poor game one loss and put it all together with a solid macro play in game number two. The Kate and the Zoe answered the Swain, and another one of those games where Swain's OP level did not seem to necessarily push forward as it has manifested in previous series teams, getting better at playing around the Swain. Nice victory there, and what it means for game three, even when it comes to who's on blue side or who's on red side or who's favored, does feel like both teams have put their best foot forward once. That means I'm excited to see the game number three.
I'm really excited to see what the draft is going to bring us as well, Papa. We had a little bit of a discussion ourselves, like what is the adaptation that you are going to make if you are the Ever8 winners? We'll see what side they are going to be on. I feel like it might just be, once again, MVP on the red side. They get to choose this time around as well. Will most likely be them sticking to their guns with what they prioritized for game number one as well.
MVP chose red side game one. Ever8 chose blue, keeping MVP on red side. And if we look over, seems like the MVP booth is still red. So yeah, we'll see what that means for the pick and ban. Sticking on the red side, I think it's time to mix things up when it comes to blue side bans. Talk about it more when we roll in, but I believe it's going to be very soon. No restrictions about those start times. We're playing each game as we get to it. Ever8 on blue. Will they ban away the Ornn? Because I feel like the singed answer really didn't yield much, and they weren't able to play around the pressure its situation he was able to create.
Yeah, just didn't really do much at all. The bans are going to remain the same, at least for the first two. The Scion, the Anivia, makes a lot of sense, even though ADD is hilariously 0-4 on the Scion for the LCK season for spring. He's still the Scion player of the LCK.
It's a bit of a hole in their drafting plan because blue side Scion into a Kai'Sa comp was how we saw Kingzone be able to navigate around some of the pitfalls of being counterpicked on patch 8.6 when you're on the blue side. So far, the bans are the same. The Rakan ban I wasn't a huge fan of in game number two. I guess it was to void off Xayah Rakan rather than necessarily to deny an Engage support because Max hasn't been on Engage so far this series. Let's see what the final ban would be. They're going to stick with the Rakan. Let's see what it means for priority. Because first pick Swain wasn't working massively for them, and MVP would be happy to pick it up, you'd imagine, on the red side.
Yeah, this is the thing. And the Olaf was the final ban here for MVP last time we saw them. See whether that is going to change or not. The onus isn't on them to change it up, though, because these bans certainly worked out for MVP with what they managed to pick themselves up.
If I'm MVP, I want to bait Ever8 into first picking Zoe and then answer from there. We'll see a Taliyah ban. Feel like the ability to answer a Zoe first pick is on display a lot, and sure, you can snowball and still make the Zoe work, but Zoe is high risk, high reward, I would say. After a lot of her recent nerfs, Sun is a great Zoe player. Ornn was the champion that I thought should be banned, but the Zoe will be first pick after all. So they do go the way of the Zoe, again, because it's Sun, who, if you're not familiar with him, has been a massive Zoe player in Challengers. I don't think MVP will be surprised that it's picked at first.
Yeah. Now, Ian does have his pick of the litter as far as what he wants to take into the Zoe, though, and the Swain makes a hell of a lot of sense. ADD's played it once so far. I don't believe that we've seen it in the hands of Ian just yet, but Beyond once again is going to pick up comfort in the Sejuani. Already, this sort of bruiser, burly duo is going to be a lot to deal with. But that's a very quick Ornn lock-in, as well as the Braum takeaway. Ever8 are saying, oh, you win with these champions. Okay, we'll pick them up.
And they'll be fight starters, it seems like. They were great on the fight starting comp of the Zac and the Ornn in game number one. They could roll that back if there is no Zac ban, a very common pick into the Sejuani. Desperately want to start fights, but MVP, they're going to have as many tanks as you could ever ask for, and that means that Zoe damage, if she doesn't get going in the early game, looking minuscule, Atlas.
Yep, it's going to be a bit of a problem, and that's once again going to be ADD's pick of choice up into the Ornn. Wasn't exactly one of those things that made you think, oh, that's a counter pick at all in game number one. It certainly was able to navigate that lane okay despite the loss. Now we're going to see the Vayne being banned away here by MVP. Could this mean that the Kai'Sa is going to be played for the first time by Pilot?
That is something that we frequently see hybrid pickup. The Vayne into the Kai'Sa is the big pick for him. It's a very good pick if you're against a Morgana spot as well, but Morgana not irrelevant as it was banned away on the red side. So that we could just see Kai'Sa added to all the tanks, and we saw Kingzone be able to wield a comp like that before. Another engaged support is banned away, this time in terms of the Leona. Wonderful to see Azaya on the side of Ever8 winners. What's the final ban here from MVP?
Is the Tahm Kench going to be banned away
Would
last
they
time
consider
for
a Lucian
Ever8
ban?
too?
Because Lucian Braum is actually how Ever8 qualified for this by winning the final with Lucian Braum. Is a riskier choice, shorter range AD carry. The Kai'Sa so far available. Let's see what it means for MVP. As they're probably going to first pick AD carry in the next round.
Yep, Ever8 playing with fire here a little bit if they leave it up, but the Tahm Kench is going to be the option here. I had a feeling that maybe one of these more tanky supports is going to be taken away, but that leaves the Kai'Sa available for Pilot with none of that pesky Vayne to deal with from Hybrid as well, and that's going to be the lock. So Ever8 winners, we'll see what their composition is going to look like now without the option of going for the Caitlyn, which certainly did work out well in lane in game number 2. The Varus also did a decent job in the laning phase, but couldn't keep up with what Hybrid was able to do. And now, shoes on the other foot, Hybrid has to figure out what the option is into the Kai'Sa.
I loved Lucian Braum into Xayah Rakan in the grand final match, and there's a lot banned away, so it could be a rollback of the Lucian Braum, even though no one else is playing it around the world. A lot of other choices could be considered here. The Varus, for example, available. The Ezreal will be safety as well. I think they need damage,
Jinx.
Atlas. They need damage from somewhere. The Jinx will be something different. Be a hyper carry matchup. See them loading up here for this final lock, and it will be the Jinx.
And Braum Jinx is such a fun combo as well, given that minigun just does such high attack speed. You can proc the concussive blows very, very easily. We've spoken about this many times before, but the long-range follow-up from the AD carry, if the Call of the Forge God lands, if the Elastic Slingshot lands, these team fights could be really, really dangerous for MVP. But Max, he's found himself a support with Engage. Is Alistar left available? And Alistar Kai'Sa, it's a lane that you don't scoff at all. We saw Gorilla and Prey actually playing it out beautifully in the grand final. MVP have set themselves up nicely, and Ian going to be, for the first time here on the LCK stage, debuting as Swain. We know that he's been playing a lot of it in solo queue.
Question for Ever8 winners to win a team fight is, how do you kill the first person? Because the front line is absurdly tanky. The Alistar is the only person with true backline threat. So actually, Ever8 say, this Jinx is probably going to live a while. But if the front line goes down first, if the Kai'Sa gets going and can reposition with the Supercharger into the Killer Instinct, maybe it doesn't matter, Atlas. So to me, you actually have to look mid lane and say, can the Zoe actually come online before the late game? Can she get going? Can she start a snowball? Because otherwise, man, MVP are beefy.
Yeah, and is Sun going to be able to punish Pilot's positioning as well, which is going to be really difficult, given Supercharger, given the fact that Killer Instinct is there.
And he's got 4 people standing in front of him at every moment. Gonna need a tricky outplay to make that happen.
His portal jumps are gonna have to be absolutely insane.
It is not a Caitlyn comp against Swain, it's a team fight comp, so let's see how Ever8 do. We're fighting on the Rift.
Yeah, we are, but once again, we're gonna get that Ornn combination with the Zac as well. This is how Ever8 were able to take down game number 1. They've got a few of the tools that we're used to seeing. Those cool plays that we saw with the Call of the Forge God certainly did work out well. So guys, deciding match for our first best of 3 coming up right now.
Small contingent of Ever8 winners fans, buoyed by their Game 1 victory, but still screaming, still trying to get there. The team in game number 3.
Thankfully, the booths are soundproof, otherwise that would have made Ever8 a little bit upset. MVP certainly with a lot of hardcore fans. It's not exactly the most people that come to watch MVP, but damn, it's the loudest.
I mean, it's not the least either. MVP has a very loyal fan base through multiple games. Involved in basically every big title here in Korea. StarCraft organization, of course. Seen the damage taken numbers, and there is something comical about being doubled in damage by an Ornn, but that's just the Ornn thing.
The Ornn did 20k damage in the last
I know.
game. It was like double that of the highest on Ever8. It was a bit sad, the lack of damage that Ever8 were able to do in game number 2.
After all the nerfs, you wondered, would Ornn be gone? Unstoppable removed. No problem. Still going to be a pick. It's always powerful. Passive makes his laning phase so reliable, and he does damage Atlas, as we see.
Yep, the wave clear. Super damn good as well.
Look at this. MVP
Opposite
did actually...
sides.
But MVP did actually surrender level 2 advantage to the side of Jinx and Braum to give the leash there. Maybe surprised, but Zach does very frequently start top side because of his ability to power farm camps.
Well, Lucifer misses his first Winter's Bite, which is a bit of a problem, but that's okay. Hybrid getting himself the shove. Rocket's going to come in and annoy Pilot there as the Acathian Rain answers back very, very well.
So we were talking about the Lucian Braum that Ever8 ran in the Challengers final. We also talked about how Hybrid's standard pick into the Kai'Sa is Vayne. That was actually banned before the Kai'Sa was locked in. MVP were very clearly setting up for a Kai'Sa draft as the first pick in the second round. We see Jinx here, another risky champ we don't often see in competitive, and what that reminds everyone at home is that Kai'Sa's laning phase is not what you pick her for. You can pick basically any AD carry into Kai'Sa and get through lane. And that means that we see Jinx, we see Vayne, we can even see the Lucian trying to punish the 2v2. So the flexibility that the Kai'Sa meta provides is that we're going to see some of the greatest players in the world break out their Vayne. We could see Reckless, Uzi, those sort of players, Prey even, play the Vayne and MSI if the Kai'Sa meta sticks around.
Yeah, plenty of hyper carry options. I'm excited to see more Jinx as well. Really happy that Hybrid was able to pick that one up and give us a little bit more of that hyper carry potential. Getting excited in team fights is something that I really like doing, and Jinx is also very, very good at it. Kuma to take his Gromp now, full cleared almost everything beyond clearing things out. That is going to be actually the enemy Gromp that's going to be stolen away. That's never been his Gromp so far this series. Swufei trying to answer back here against ADD.
More proactive comp with the Shen in game number 3. It's Kleptomancy Shen again, mentioned already. This is a big favorite of Flandre over for Snake in the LCK. Sorry, in the LPL, I should say, going for the aggressive Q trades, trying to get the gold generation. Didn't work out as his team fell behind and seemed like ADD wasn't getting a lot of Klepto procs. We'll speak about ADD a bit more as Beyond is topside.
Yep. And he is going to get the dash to come in here. Good follow-up as the flash will have to be used if he wants any hope of getting out, but I don't think there is any.
Oh.
He is going to flash there. Slow was down, but I don't think so. It is going to be Wufei under the turret at least, but ADD has enough to take a couple of turret shots, and he's going to be fine. First blood going top lane for MVP.
Probably a second away from having the Bellows Breath and having another shield under the turret, but they get the kill. Nice gank timing from Beyond. Comes to lane a lot earlier than he did in game number 1. It's definitely going to be happy news for ADD as he tries to get his Titanic Hydra rolling.
Yeah, already the Tiamat has been picked up. Red Pot sitting in his back pocket as well, so ADD having a little bit more luck with the Kleptomancy this time around.
Some people joining us late and wondering what the stakes are, as LCK, of course, did finish. We had the LCK final a few days ago in Busan. This is the promotion tournament to decide who the final 2 teams in LCK Summer will be. There is no promotion tournament in any other major region. This is a Korea exclusive, playing the Summer Promotion Tournament. The team that wins here will play in a best-of-5 tomorrow. It is double elimination. The team that loses here will play again in the final match of the night, the 3rd best-of-3. So we won't have any teams qualified for LCK Summer at the end of the 3 best-of-3s, but we will have 1 out of 4 teams eliminated from consideration for Summer.
Yep, we will say goodbye to 1 team today. That is definitely for sure. Sun continuing just to farm things out here in the mid lane. Beyond, he's going to turn up though. It's only level 5. Sun gets himself over, and that was his own flash that he had to use. Didn't pick one of those up. Fancy area as there's the Chilling Smite going down as Kuma is going to get the bonk back on both of the members of MVP. Burnt down by Sun as he'd managed to pick up the Ignite. He puts that one on and grabs the kill.
That was Ignite just straight up. He brought it with the unsealed spellbook in this game. They get the kill. Nicely done.
I actually don't think he started off with that. Confused the heck out of me, Papa, but still utilized it beautifully.
Can be so flexible with those summoner spells. Had the Ignite for the gank timing. Beyond was in the right spot. It looked like a great approach, but this time Kuma was there for the counter gank. Beyond goes down, and despite his nice early work, he is now experienced behind the Zac.
Yeah, and the stretch Armstrong really nicely played there by Kuma as well, threading it all the way through. Cathian Rain from Pilot here means that Ever8 winners having this wave shoved in towards them. Rockets should mean that Jinx should be able to clear things out. she wants to, but not wanting to get themselves ganked, even though Beyond was in the death chamber for quite some time.
There's going to be a rush onto the Ludens again from Sun. Hasn't gone for a tier in his first purchases. Still a chance, but seems unlikely given the approach he's taken. And you can get baited when you're in a Swain lane, because as a tank jungler, you have so much synergy with the Swain passive. You do get a lot of displacement. Gotta remember the Swain, unless that Demon Flare has a lot of soul fragments, he doesn't do a lot of damage.
No, not generally. Actually going to go back in, grabs the Merc Treads as item number 1, so his Rod of Ages is going to be even later. ADD fighting against Wufei here, but he's got plenty of options. Catalyst already completed here, so the killing Ornn times looking like they're not so much here anymore. Doesn't get the knock-up though, so ADD at least going to survive that trade a little bit better.
Snowball Tiamat also wins the trade harder than we usually see against Swain. Fortunately, when you kill the Swain, I should say that, I should have meant Ornn. When you kill the Ornn early, he doesn't get punished as much as basically any other champion in the game, because he goes back to lane. He doesn't even care if he doesn't get the ideal back, because he's got the ability to forge those items.
Yep, just builds them all himself. Quite frustrating for ADD, who will have to go home and complete that Titanic Hydra. Void Seeker not going to find anyone, but does note for Pilot that members of Ever8 winners were considering going home.
Doran's Ring start for Pilot. Say, item we used to see on Jhin quite frequently as a first item for mana sustain. Does suggest it's not going to be a rush into the Essence Reaver. That would be a lot of mana regen focus early.
I believe we saw that in the LPL actually. It was Jhin versus Kai'Sa, and it was both of them picking up the Doran's Ring, which was cute.
Haven't seen the Doran's Ring Jhin this season. Prey, our biggest Jhin player, has been on the Doran's Shield hype train.
Yep.
Just a little mana sustain option early. If you want to queue the wave and try to trim it as it pushes in, then you do use a lot of mana, so you can understand moving over to the Doran's Ring.
At the moment, you can see Max actually paying a bit of a visit towards the mid lane. This is an Aftershock cow, though, so not going to have the option to teleport anywhere with his spellbook or anything like that. He still wants to try and find something, but the wave not in the position he wants it to be in. Sun has his Ignite back off cooldown. There is an opportunity for them to try and kill Ian, utilizing those Grievous Wounds.
Max uses the prototype of an LCK Unsealed Spellbook support.
Yeah.
But if you take Unsealed Spellbook against Zoe and things don't go your way, you just die. So the extra resists coming through when he initiates might help him live a bit longer. Even the Unbreakable Will does bend to the damage coming through from the Zoe.
Bend to the Unbreakable Will, is that what you mean?
Sounds like a quote from a movie.
It
Brent. Was that a Star Wars quote?
I think it sounds like a Star Wars quote. Sounds like a Star Wars quote.
If not, that's a great first pass for our League of Legends script that we're writing.
Yeah, exactly. For the new space thriller League of Legends Papatless script that we've got going on. Elastic Slingshot gets Kuma out of the way. Spots Beyond there as well, who's getting some vision. Leading down towards the bottom lane. Spike going to land onto Pilot, but the zap, going to be avoided. MVP navigating this lane quite nicely. Going to be a few CS in the lead for the Kai'Sa. But Hybrid just wants to make his way to 3 items and be Jinx in these team fights. He's got a lot of burly frontliners to stand in the way and stop the members of MVP from being frustrating.
A prophecy for those 4-item fights. Let's assume this game goes to 30 minutes and everyone's got gold. There's no massive lead. Who does better, the Kai'Sa or the Jinx? You remember back to the LCK final, it was the Kai'Sa against basically any matchup, dominating in the 5v5. She has repositioned. She is wonderfully strong. But in this particular game, even the situational invisibility and the killer instinct being able to pop past 1 CC is going to find another one. Everyone has hard crowd control on the side of Ever8 winners, even the damn Jinx with the Chompers. So outplaying, which is something you can situationally do as Kai'Sa, very, very hard to do, and good damage coming around from the Jinx from long range. Meanwhile, the Jinx, there's not a lot of backline threat. But we already mentioned it's hard for her to kill her first person and get the movement speed to be slippery herself. The team fight's going to be very interesting to see. I just think Kai'Sa's going to have a harder time than usual.
Yep, I think it's going to be a bit of a problem as here's the fight. Oh, there's the smite coming in from Kuma as well, who's broken up this fight. Wufei coming in a little bit late, though, means that the Jinx is certainly going to fall down. 4-man knockup comes in, but now there's just no follow-up. A double kill for ADD's MVP. Get themselves ahead. They lose the Dragon. But are they going to lose any more after this? Ever8 winners, because Wufei, he's out of position. That's a big Shen now this game, and MVP moving down towards the bottom lane.
Ever8 gave up so much just to get an Ocean Drake of all things. We're still brawling in the mid lane, not going to have the damage take him down. Kuma has to enter lane to stop the turret going down in bot. Seems to me a pretty big investment just for an Ocean.
Yeah. Maybe an overreach, but they do get the Ocean Drake, so they got what they were coming for. The drive by Smite.
But after that, making those sort of plays, people are going to be out of position. They haven't had control of the bottom side river. Hybrid walks up, trying to just be there to threaten some damage. Wasn't really looking to fully commit. The bot lane is going to be cleaned up by Engage coming through from ADD.
Yeah, and jumping right on top of Ian as well on the Swain. Demonic Ascension, meaning everyone was just losing their health bars. Side of Ever8. So Luden's Echo now done for Sun. They've got some items that are coming in. I mean, Hybrid's a BF sword and a couple of daggers. Doesn't have anywhere near anything relevant just yet. If you get some spare time with a turret, that certainly will feel good, but otherwise, it's problematic here. And I feel like we are going to be looking towards first turret as being an opportunity for one of these teams to get ahead.
It is really nice, actually, with the side steps to avoid Bellow's breath damage and take winning trades against Norn. Never easy to do. Beyond pops over bot lane looking for an instant engage, but only Lucifer was walking up.
Yeah, Stem side be there for Lucifer as well, so he just pops on over to Hybrid. Things are fine.
Mentioned a couple of times that Sun was the nominal sub for KT that never got play in 2017. Should be mentioned that Hybrid's previous ID, was Lucy. He was on the Kingzone or Longzhu lineup last year as well. Never saw play either. But these are a couple players who've been in the system around the top level but haven't seen play.
Yeah, that's another steal to come in from Kuma though, and does land the Stretch Armstrong. Trouble Bubble comes in as well as Demonic Ascension. It is there, but Beyond is blocking it. Bloblets are going to fly out. Ever8 just not as many options
it's
now.
Pilot!
Yeah, there's the killer instinct, and Pilot, he wants to grab one, gets it easily. MVP off to a great start. Seemed like they needed a warm-up, Papa, but Ever8 winners not able to get the work done in the early game this time around.
Zoe trying to play the items with the early Ludens, but that's what happens when you're early first pick Zoe against tanks. It's 4 tanks on the side of MVP. Beyond walks in front of the Paddle Star. No damage registered onto Ian. And then, unfortunately, his jungler's too far up because there's nothing Zoe can do when she's fighting in close quarters.
Everything landed absolutely perfectly from Kuma, just unfortunately didn't manage to do the damage count.
On the back end, Swain can use all her abilities. The Zoe can use none. So many abilities that actually form hard crowd control that allows the killer instinct to come in. Easily cleaned up by Pilot. The bot lane roam of a Kai'Sa to mid lane is underrated because of the engage range if those plasmas ever register. And this is why it's hard to wield the Zoe. I think Zoe's a very tricky champion to actually make work as, well, depends how you define a team fight. I'm sure Zoe did damage at some point.
Yeah, I think the Zoe did manage to hit Ian with at least a Trouble Bubble, so 0 damage seems interesting.
But 0 damage Zoe may be the takeaway from this game, just not necessarily in the actual statistics.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily the Zoe's fault either. You could be hitting all your abilities, just feeling like you're doing no damage, like you mentioned earlier on.
I think MVP did a good job to be able to, in this game, after winning with Zoe, bait Ever8 into the first pick Zoe. Because that's why I mentioned it. I was like, it looks like they're saying, hey, what about that Zoe that we used so well last game? Zoe, as a late rotation champion, can be powerful, but gone are the days of first pick, first ban. And even though Sun is one of the best Zoes we have in Korea, and definitely the best in Challenger, going to be tricky to pull it off.
Well, Max is going to try and get some work done
This
here
is a big
under the
kidnap.
turret. That's a huge kidnap.
Whoa!
And the flash to get him out of the way. It's like, nope, we are not fighting now. And Kuma does manage to nail it.
Win, lose, or draw, the bro status of Kuma in this game. That is the sickest defensive kidnap I have ever seen.
It was so good. Hops on over, gets himself out. Now Lucifer getting some value with this Unbreakable. Yeah, wants to try and get himself out, but nope. Beyond is in there with the Glacial Prison, and now Pilot able to get heaps of damage back. Charges up as in he goes. Okay, wow, the Killer Instinct is in there. The answering heal to make sure the Pilot gets in the right position. He's going to connect the arms, but otherwise, Stretching Strike isn't enough. That is a very aggressive Pilot.
The insurance bailout plan is Kuma only. He's doing his best, but advantages keep going to the side of MVP. The aggressive Hex Flash over the wall. Flash is actually back up, you'll notice. It's very nicely done from Max. You don't see that offensively used very often. The bot lane is completely harassed out. This could just be turret to MVP.
Yep, should be. Pilot down here as well. Lots of attack speed. He's going to be able to get this one. Renan's Hurricane going to be very, very close, especially 1-0 and 2 now. He's up by so much CS. This Jinx Braum option into the Kai'Sa, certainly not something that's worked out so far here for Ever8 winners.
In general, Beyond, apart from going down early, has made a lot of good proactive moves. The Sejuani has been a pick that they've won on consistently. Remember, they are in the relegation tournament. They finished 9th. And including game number 1, he's sitting on a very comfortable, game number 2 I should say, he's sitting on a very comfortable 8-2 scoreline, 80% win rate over 10 games. For a team that won only 6 matches during the season is pretty big for Beyond. Like the ADD's play in the lane, and it's only to the tune of a 5 CS lead, but Titanic Hydra already complete for the Shen.
Yep, building towards the magic resist now as well. As Wufei breathing a lot of fire on him, and he's a bit frustrated about that. I like the idea of playing for lane here for ADD, because he has been split pushing. Even in game number 1, it was not the Shen's fault that they were losing, things like that.
As far as I can calculate, I believe the Supercharger Evolve is already available on Pilot at this attack speed, and now with the Hurricane, it certainly is. But with the double dagger, I think he was already there, so already going to be pretty slippery. We mentioned there's a lot of CC to answer, so it's not going to be a free teamfight phase every time he uses it. Pilot rolls in, he's got 2 items. If the fight is extended, they'll be doing a lot of AoE damage, and only the Hurricane is wielded by Hybrid.
Yeah, Hurricane and BF Sword, certainly the let's take down turrets early type build path, but this isn't early anymore. We're hitting 18 minutes into this game, still not 2 items for the Jinx.
Look who's got more than 2 items, as that's going to be very early Zeke's convergence on Sejuani.
Wow, yeah, Beyond has actually managed to get himself a lot of cash, 4 kill contribution. Watching
a lot of LCS jungle streams and just talking to people, this is kind of where the meta's going, is that the junglers are back to tank junglers who buy Knight's Vow, Zeke's Convergence, and are about the AD carry rather than necessarily about themselves, something that, of course, Meteos was very upset about when I was watching him on stream. But basically, if you're looking for team fights, which certainly MVP with no true Siege are able to do, they have a team fight only comp. The Sejuani is going to be ulting nebulously near the Kai'Sa, and that means the Kai'Sa damage amp is available nice and early from the Sejuani.
Yeah. Might even build towards the Knight's Vow afterwards. Certainly could with that Ruby Crystal sitting in his back pocket. I like it. Build up the Kai'Sa. And Pilot has been playing very aggressively so far this game. And has been rewarded. 1-0-2. Ian grabs himself a blue buff. Everything's quiet on Summoner's Rift. 1 minute until the Baron is going to spawn. We haven't seen Shelly at all so far this series, I don't think. Did we see one Rift Herald? I don't think so.
No, we haven't seen a Rift Herald. Usually,
we've seen a lot of Rift Herald.
I know,
actually.
Rift Herald was actually where I got to there. Reaching for Rift Herald, not quite getting there, which is what, as you say,
somewhat Freudian, I like it.
The series has shown. That's not about Freud. I know too much about Freud, so I don't want to speak about him.
Okay, remind you of uni days.
Yep, I was a psych major after all. ADD pushes up. He's got the pushing priority onto Wufei, which is not easy to do, but with the Titanic Hydra, you pay for the right to have that over the Ornn.
Speaking of paying for things, Wufei is actually going to take that moment, just hop in the Forge, build himself some stuff. Spectre's Cowl is what he's gone for after picking up his Abyssal Mask. Now, underneath the turret, Hybrid and Lucifer could be in trouble.
They really want to engage.
Not going to land.
They want to engage and take Baron. Baron spawns in 10 seconds, and they really rate their 5v5 fighting power. Tend to agree.
Oh yeah, especially right now as well.
Shen is bot side.
Blue buff going to be stolen, though, as Sun pops his way in and grabs it.
They have a lot of Baron damage. Just to Rageblade Kai'Sa with the missing health damage, does so much damage to something like Baron, so they continue to walk up. They know Shen will have first rotation. Back away for now, but top turret, and hey, a bonus kill, and then Baron will be the quick sandwich for the side of MVP.
Yeah, and Wufei's having a real rough time, actually, towards this bottom side. Looks like Adaptive Helm is going to come in, potentially. He's just going to continue building some stuff. Oh, it's actually just really, really cute. And he decides he needs some armor. And to be perfectly honest, I think he's correct. His ADD is able to fight him so easily underneath this turret.
Red buff still burns on turrets on patch 8.6 from memory. I know that was removed on either 8.6 or 8.7. Gonna go with my first instinct and say 8.7.
Yep, believe it still does.
That was a really cheeky interrupt there.
Understanding the range of a Titanic Hydra very, very well is ADD.
Further than you remember. Kind of like Rumble Flame Spitter, kind of.
Yeah,
length,
yeah.
at least.
Looks a little bit smaller than it actually is.
Seems to be annoying. I think if he had 2 full damage rotations, he'd kill, but That's a lot of time for Wu-Fei to run away. Pilot was there just in case hard crowd control came in.
He wanted to position
Still
himself.
interrupting.
In fact, yeah, he's going to get down
Here we
there,
go.
but here's the
Holy
fight.
crap.
Oh, God, Zoe explodes. Was Sun even there? I'm not entirely sure. Started off in the death chamber by the time the Observer made it over, and that is not a slight to the Observer because Pop went to Zoe, and now the outer turret going to do the same thing in the mid lane.
Pilot made his ultimate look like a damage ability because by the time he actually gap closed, the enemy champion was dead. Oh boy. That means the mid laner is taken down deep vision after playing bot side. Can't recall bot side when you haven't been able to have control there in a while. And we mentioned the Baron play from MVP. It's getting closer and closer.
Yeah, and with Sun dead, MVP able to get over here. They get rid of all of the vision that was available for MVP. Sorry, for Ever8. And Ian now pushing out topside. It feels like Ever8 winners on the cusp of falling out and falling towards that losers match that's going to be coming up as our final match of the day.
Double elimination, guys, throughout the course of this 3-day tournament. Lose twice and you're out.
Win twice and you're in.
It's absolutely true.
How it works as well, so...
We don't call it a double win tournament, though. The glass is half empty, Atlas, I'll have
I
you know.
and there's so many losers that are always playing.
A loser's match.
So we're actually going to change. It's a relegation tournament. This is a relegation tournament. The fight for who's going to get relegated.
I don't think we get naming rights on tournaments, Atlas.
I don't think so either. Well, actually, theoretically, I do because I do the voiceover. But I think they'd take out relegation
I
tournament.
think Riot Games would object
yeah,
to that.
I feel like someone would have a problem. Okay, Ever8 still trying desperately to get some vision around this topside area. At least they do have it in their own jungle so they can walk towards the river. Now bottom side, Wu-Fei, he's in trouble. The plasma is going to come out, but oh, that flash timing was great after the headbutt. No pulverize to land, but they will still be able to grab this turret. Baron being considered now. I mean, Ever8 do have at least the drop on the position of that Baron. They'd have to do it very, very quickly.
And MVP are not playing how a lot of teams play because you notice the AD carry is bot side, right? And we already mentioned they have a good Baron team. They're playing this way to extend bot lane all the way to the enemy inhibitor as Beyond face checks a couple of people.
Yeah, thankfully Aftershock is going to keep him healthy.
What this does is that because they own the red side jungle, the inner turret was free to take. There wasn't going to be a multi-man defense. And now with the bot lane this long, Shen can actually create map pressure pushing into the inhibitor and has a paddock to back off to when they eventually move all their troops to the top side. Just want to extend the bot lane, extend the gold lead by picking up some more global gold, and then allow ADD that much more ability to aggressively push, but also safely ult away.
And that Banner of Command actually just coming off cooldown here for ADD as well. He does have a cannon in this wave that he could chuck it down on. Wu-Fei is going to struggle to clear out that minion.
Struggle not to get heavily out damaged. Pilot already has the Infinity Edge loaded in early. This is no Death Stance Atlas. Max damage coming through.
Yeah, ridiculous.
From Pilot.
Oh, big damage coming in from Sun there, but does take a Void Seeker, so has to be under a turret. Feel like you'd just be scared of Pilot no matter where he is now with these 3 items. Like you say, yeah, the max damage option instead of Death Stance.
And teams learned to be scared of Pilot as the season went on. Had a very poor start to his career on MVP in the first couple of matches. Maha preferred for majority of it, but leveled up and was looking like, you know, a middle-of-the-pack AD carry and then some, which in the LCK is not an insult. Not a steal there, just a claim from Pilot is, how about an Infernal?
Yep, it was the first steal that happened on the Ocean Drake for Ever8 that really put them on the back foot to start this game off, and now MVP rewarded for their good team fighting early with double Infernal Drake. Wu-Fei pretty frustrated at the fact that this Brambleback will be taken by ADD. And he does so. It was a bit of a 50-50 though in the end.
We have such a slim piece of good news for Ever8. You look at the enemy team and say, well, at least they don't have all of the magic resist yet. You know, Zoe's not doing 0 damage, but it's pretty close if we're going to be honest, Atlas.
Yeah.
Double flat magic penetration.
Not actually going towards a Void Staff, which I thought might be coming in earlier rather than later here.
Oblivion Orb into the Needless Large Rods actually isn't going to go all the way to the completed first, or second item, I should say, of the Merlinomicon that kind of need it with the Swain. And it's healing as the game goes on. Pilot walks up, he's got double buffs. They run away. Very, very long map for the side of MVP, whereas the Zoe, who once again we return to how good she is from ahead, how poor she is from behind. She is the Skarner of the mid lane. This Skarner's behind, and I remember a lot of games in a row. That's not a good sign.
No. Certainly feels like the early LCK Skarner that straight up did not work for the the majority of the time. But thankfully, the Morellonomicon has been completed. This little large rod's still sitting there to be built into a hat at some other stage. But Ian, free time with this outer turret on the top side. Grabs all of that local gold there for himself as well. Almost 3 items here for Hybrid, who has the Zeal to be built into potentially his rapid fire cannon or a static shiv, depending on what he wants.
Excellent ward position, you'll notice, is actually more early warning than you would kind of give Ever8 for respect around the Baron. But this is the problem. This is the part of the game where MVP have everything working for them. They have the top lane turret down. They've got a very long lane in bot lane. The mid lane outer down. They're stronger in a 5v5. Their AD carry insanely fed. Put down 2 control wards, 3 around the Baron. Wait for a face check and kill. This is the part where MVP should win the game. And if they don't take Baron in the next 5 minutes, it's a big problem for them.
Yeah, Pilot is exactly a Rage Blade ahead when it comes to items, which is pretty filthy. Paddlestar is going to go wide. Sun, bit of a drive-by on this Zoe, and you were talking about the fact that ADD can be really frustrating up towards this inhibitor turret, and he's doing exactly that. Everyone having to collapse towards the bottom side of the map.
It's really weird lane assignment, though. They're not actually focusing around the Baron, even though they have 3 control wards. Seems like MVP are trying to go for a more standard playbook, which is, let's get an inhibitor in the bot lane, then take Baron. They don't need it. That's how far ahead they are, and also have the superior comp. If Sun is coming to them, he's not going to get value out of the Zoe. So I really would prefer to see them play topside, get the Baron. Ever8 can only get near it by desperation, and that should be easily scouted. They've also got the Stand United to guarantee it.
And it always was the MVP playstyle. I find this really interesting that they're ignoring Baron when they were the team that would take Baron even if it was a really dumb idea. So, against the script just a little bit, but they are 11,000 gold in the lead. A little bit more, closer to 12, to be honest. Somehow, out of nowhere, they're just winning everything, taking whatever they want.
Finally return to it. The only reason you get even slightly scared is the Zac, but he can't walk in without being found. He's there now. They should be able to finish it easily, though.
Yep, not a chance. They don't even have a jungler here, so just able to grab it. Beyond moves himself back. Sith Lightning onto Kuma, only going to tickle him, but this is now the real beginning of danger moments for Ever8, who are looking down the barrel of that loser's game at the end of the day.
Question posed, question answered. Why are they bot side? They asked themselves the same question. Walk top, and predictably Baron dies instantly, which is power of what they'd already put together. Huge lead for Pilot, about 4,000 gold ahead. 3.5, I'll be fair to Hybrid, but 3,500 gold ahead of his opponent.
Pilot has had a very good day, honestly. Even in the laning phase in game number 1, I mean, the Varus didn't necessarily get going in the late game, but I felt like that was compositionally.
Sure.
The Varus was just not as potent as the Kai'Sa, but in the laning phase, it was about a 30 CS lead, is what MVP were able to put up. Certainly impressive.
Support gold lead is really felt as there's a righteous glory onto the Alistair.
That's the lead, I think. Is
only
an
an Aegis.
entire...
Look at the junglers, 3 items onto Kuma, whereas all sorts of team utility is put by Beyond, who, as I mentioned, is going for, well, these don't do much for me, but it makes my AD carry a god more.
Yep. Yeah, the Knight's Vow. I saw that did mention something like that earlier on in the game. Not sure whether it was this game anymore, because we've been seeing a lot of this particular build on a lot of different champions.
Go for a tank and give all your utility to the AD carry is the way that this current meta is being played in Korea.
Doesn't have tanky stats on it as well. Yes, all right, let's build it. But Gathering Storms, not going to be super relevant this game because it's 30 minutes in. Ever8 are on the ropes, and now the dive is coming in. Glacial Prison is great from Beyond on the front line. Kuma, he explodes. What the heck damage was that? He got 2-shot from Pilot. Might have been the Acathian Rain that just hit all on top of the Zac that he's taken out. Demonic Ascension was utilized, and the Demon Flare is there for Ian, but now has worn off. MVP still going for this fight, though. Call of the Forge God comes down. Ever8 winners. A double knock-up into the backline, but now massive Killer Instinct launches the Kai'Sa into the backline, and Wufei, he's going to fall down. Sun, I mean, he's trying to do what he can. He's got flashes, he's got options, but he doesn't have a Nexus anymore. The comeback, successful from MVP. They only need to win one more time over the next few days of the tournament to get back into the LCK.
The expectation pre-tournament was the MVP would find a way to get back in And with this victory, Game 2 and Game 3, love the adaptations. The Game 3 draft of offering up Sun Zoe as tribute and then answering it compositionally was a treat to watch. Great series for MVP after a roadblock at the start, and the veteran status team able to steady themselves after a difficult loss, close out the series. That means we won't see MVP again today. They will go on to the winners best of 5 in 2 days' time.
Yeah, they're going to be playing on Thursday, a best of 5 series to promote into the LCK. The losing team on the Thursday will then play again the following Sunday, and that will be the final team that wins out. It's going to head towards the LCK as well. So exciting times, but sad times to come in for our final match. Ever8 winners are going to be moving towards that losers match at the end of the day. Still some smiles on their faces, though. You can see that Ever8 not too worried at the moment. You think probably that it's likely they'll be facing Kongdu Monster towards the end of the day, but we don't know what our next series is going to hold. Often teams come in with a whole head of steam. You don't really know what to expect.
It's definitely not the time for false bravado. Calm
Precisely.
yourselves down. You get the chance to watch an entire best of 3 versus with Griffin versus Kongdu, knowing you will play the loser of that match in our 3rd match of the night. For MVP, they can just focus on the good. They were able to win. They understood the mistakes they made in game number 1, contained the strong parts of Ever8 well. The Xin Zhao, the Zoe, those unique picks for Ever8 were well scouted and well dealt with, and ended up being a comfortable victory for MVP.
Yeah, and the Swain being dealt with as well so expertly in game number 2 was brilliant from MVP. And another thing, we knew that they were very nervous, but they played through that. They gathered momentum in game number 2 and then came back strong. And having comeback wins when you're not necessarily feeling confident is something that's very, very impressive. Just shows that the mental side for MVP was certainly good.
Come back after the break, guys. Our second match of the night, not 100% sure when we'll close up here. We might be on screen again, but just to let you guys know, second match of the night will happen 15 to 20 minutes after this wrap-up ends.
Yeah, once we're done with that one. Pilot, understandably, did do the most damage in the game, but we had relatively low numbers because it was only a 30-minute affair for MVP to close that one out. Map rotations were great, and honestly, it felt like an 11,000 gold lead just happened out of nowhere, and then just got worse, 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 and worse.
We did see the 11,000 damage lead out of the Kai'Sa over the Jinx. The Jinx wasn't really able to get going, never got to the point in the game where she was relevant, behind a Rage Blade and then some. As the game went on, and the double Infernal, the icing on the cake for MVP. 30 minutes 55, shorter in this game, but this one felt like LCK versus Challenger.
Having an Ornn do double the damage of your AD carry in the final game, that is certainly rough. But as you can see, Ever8 winners were able to take one. That's all the good news stories that we have.
And the adjustments are also in cleanliness of the game. 43 became 37, became 30 minutes. And MVP eventually had the solution. So guys, after the break, the long hyped up Griffin, undefeated in challenges, 16-0, even better than Kingzone's record in the LCK, will face Kongdu Monster. It's the best of the second league versus the worst of the best league. What does it mean for a series? I'm so hyped to find out.
Yeah, I'm super psyched to find out because sometimes, you know, it takes a lot to get into LCK. It takes a lot to be an LCK team, and we hear about these teams. CJ, the classic example of having the undefeated run, and then...
Where are they now, Atlas?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
They're gone.
They're going to change their name, definitely.
Well, they're gone. They don't even exist anymore.
Well, the organization still barely even exists. Yeah, exactly. Unfortunate. Even in other games, it's a bit of a problem. Yes, CJ.
But hello, Griffin.
Hello,
we'll
Griffin.
See them after the break, finally.
Yep, still 2 more best of 3s to come, guys. So stick around about 15, 20 minutes, and we'll see you then after the break.
up next. Kongdu Monster. Griffin. 2018 League of Legends Champions Korea Sum Up Promotion.